This is a City AM Studios production.
Hello and welcome back to Business as Usual, brought to you by Okta with me, Martin Kimber.
And me, Matt Kenyon. Coming up, as the Defence Secretary quits, is Britain prepared to properly fund its own security?
Potential future Prime Minister Andy Burnham flirts with compensating the infamous WASPI women to the tune of billions. But is this fair? We'll discuss.
And with the World Cup underway, thousands of fans are being turned away at the US border. We'll discuss why. First up, it was meant to be Keir Starmer's big reset. He's faced with the prospect of a pretty imminent leadership challenge from Andy Burnham, among others. But the much-mooted defence investment plan has gone pretty horribly wrong, and he's lost his defence secretary. So Labour's newest backbencher, John Healey, wrote on Thursday in a letter to the PM that failures to properly fund defence spending could make the country feel less safe. We're joined by our politics and economics reporter, Mauricio Alencar.
Who always makes us feel safe.
Yeah, I feel very safe in this room right now. But I suppose, how safe should the Prime Minister feel? And how big a blow is this to his already quite tenuous authority over the Labour Party?
This is a huge blow. It's quite unexpected as well.
So no one had predicted this or anticipated this at all.
I mean, I think there was clear tensions between, as these negotiations for defence funding had gone on, but I don't think anyone expected John Healey to actually resign the way he did. Of course, at the moment, we're seeing lots of speculation around Starmer's leadership, Andy Burnham's by-election coming, and Wes Streeting sitting on the backbenches, making the case for himself as leader. This resignation has actually nothing to do with the Labour leadership contest. It's all about defence, and that's why it's such a blow to Starmer, because diplomacy and talking about defence had been seen as one of Starmer's strong points in government. Now, John Healey has come out and said, look, you are unable and unwilling to actually give us the resources we need, and that's why I'm resigning. That's far worse.
And it's devastating for him, because that was going to be one of his big defences when it comes to this possible leadership election, of saying, actually, this is a very delicate geopolitical moment, a very dangerous time for the world. Keep me, because I have that wing, the sort of Alcan's John Healey wing of the Labour Party, who are, I suppose, defence-minded, have a more sort of global approach. Who does he have now?
It felt like last-minute legacy building before being sort of chucked out, and it felt like, I don't just want to be known for the guy who was booted out after 2 years. I want like a defence legacy, and that's in tatters now, isn't it?
I actually completely disagree with that. I don't think John Healey is thinking of this as, Starmer's on the back end of his premiership.
Oh, no. I mean, for Starmer, it was... to me, it looked like Starmer trying to get this sort of defence spending bill through felt like a last-minute attempt to try and leave.
Well, I wonder if actually, I think it might have been actually a genuinely quite legitimate way of saving his premiership. I think there was quite a strong case to be made that actually, without a really strong alternative candidate to Starmer, he is doing quite well on the world stage. Like, there is a...
Well, we've been waiting for this defence investment plan since last autumn. It was meant to come in last autumn. About a year ago, a bit over a year ago, we had a strategic defence review. This had been delayed for months and months and months. And there were always questions. I was asking those questions. When are you going to publish this defence investment plan? Defence industry.
So how long has this date been in the calendar?
There's not been a date in the calendar. There's still no date in the calendar. We just thought that it was going to be published this week. And, I mean, this resignation has basically destroyed that prospect. So, I think we really have to divorce... I do genuinely believe we do have to divorce this from the other kind of leadership speculation surrounding Keir Starmer, which is much more political. This is actually a really serious issue about, defending the country. And actually, defence investment plan is supposed to be something that has cross-party support. So it has, the Conservatives on side or possibly Reform.
But I suppose with what's potentially coming next, can we truly divorce it from a situation where Starmer could be gone in a few months? Because Rachel Reeves, she's come out and said that we're going to have to raise taxes again to fund a proper 2.6 sort of 2027 rate. I suppose there might be questions, and quite nervous questions, being asked within the Labour Party, but also elsewhere in Parliament, about actually if a Keir Starmer-led government isn't able or willing to put this forward, well, what Labour leader would?
This is the biggest blow to Starmer's leadership, and I'm not saying that this this doesn't impact his leadership at all.
Bigger than Wes Streeting's resignation.
This is bigger than Wes Streeting's resignation, without a doubt. It might be bigger than other resignations other governments have suffered. Rishi Sunak with Boris Johnson. All of those are very political. This is not a necessarily political kind of
this is policy,
ego kind of led resignation. This is purely on the fact that the government hasn't found the cash or enough cash to fund an uplift in defence spending. Let's now put that into perspective. Right now, the government in 2025 spent 2.3% of GDP on defence. That figure is going up to 2.6% from next year. This negotiation was all to do with one commitment, which the government had to raise it to 3% of GDP, and the government had only committed that when fiscal conditions allow after 2030. So, Labour might not be in government then. And then there's a NATO commitment to get it up to 3.5% plus 1.5% on national security by 2035. If the government wants to get to 3.5% immediately from today, that is £40 billion more each year on defence spending. How do you do that? Borrowing, well, the government's sort of debt load is already in a sort of precarious
the cost
situation.
Of borrowing is only
tax hikes, well, Rachel Reeves has already hiked taxes by £60 billion, over £60 billion over her first two budgets, or big spending cuts. £40 billion basically is the MOJ, the Ministry of Justice, and the Cabinet Office combined. That's it's a huge sum. It's basically how much the government currently this year paid on disability benefits as well. So, you can talk about the best probably case for a government is obviously a sort of mixture, probably of taxes and spending cuts. Perhaps there's been arguments from the Liberal Democrats, for example, they've kind of been leading the case for a defence bond. There are actually arguments from quite respected city economists, which is, we should basically do a specific bond which has an inheritance tax relief for investors, and maybe you could get more retail investors. There's all these arguments going on. Effectively, it doesn't matter to John Healey how the money is found. We just need the money because, everyone sees on news of Russia attacking Ukraine and the war in Iran, and UK feels a bit of the United Kingdom feels like it's a sort of, it's not an active participant by any means. It's not even a passive participant. It's a non-participant.
Do you get the impression that there is the political will in the Labour Party to do what's needed to get this money?
It's a tough question. I think there is not as much of a political will because I don't think voters are aware of just how costly it is to get there.
And actually, are voters going to reward a government that much for defence spending in the same way they would with other kinds of public spending?
To get that £40 billion figure I was talking about, that's equivalent to as well hiking income taxes across the board by 4p. It's obviously a government manifesto. That would be a manifesto pledge broken. But there's this sort of idea that, we just need to tax the rich more, or I guess from other parts of the political spectrum, we can just cut welfare spending for this. None of that actually adds up really to £40 billion. That's 4p on income tax or 4p on VAT. There's different political arguments to be made how to get that funding for defence. But, I do think that the reality of the numbers is completely sort of not in the idea of, I don't think voters are aware. I don't know what's happening with the political system, but it doesn't feel like Westminster is quite there of just how big this sort of jump in spending would be.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, Mauricio. We shall be watching those events with great interest in Westminster. Coming up after the break, more Westminster stuff as Andy Burnham flirts with spending billions compensating the WASPI women. Plus, World Cup fans from almost every continent are being turned away at the US border. Don't go away.
This episode is brought to you by Okta. AI agents are everywhere now, quietly making decisions across organisations. That's great until you stop and think, who's in charge?
If you don't know who an agent is, what it's connected to, or what it's allowed to do, you can't really trust it to act in your interests. That's the bit Okta focuses on. They secure the identity of AI agents, so there's one clear layer of control across the whole system.
Which means every agent has a clear identity permissions, and a line of accountability, even as things scale.
Risk becomes something you manage, not guess at. Secure every agent, secure any agent. Okta secures AI. Welcome back. Now, Andy Burnham has suggested he would support more than 3.5 million women born in the 1950s who claim they lost thousands of pounds after failing to be properly informed of the changes to their state pension age. The prime ministerial contender has indicated he'd pay out billions to the so-called WASPI women, a pledge Sir Keir Starmer also made before entering Downing Street, but later reneged on. Our comment editor Alys Denby joins us now. Alys, compensating some hard-done-by pensioners is surely the right thing to do.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I suppose the one thing that this proves... the one thing this proves is that Andy Burnham is absolutely terrified of women of a certain age. So I suppose I sort of appreciate it for that. But no, look, these women do not deserve to be compensated. This was a widely advertised change that obviously had to happen. It was a result of equalising the pension age between men and women, something that clearly had to occur. Widely advertised, and these women claim that they need money from taxpayers because they failed to read the news. It's not fair. It's £10 billion, which we could be spending on defence. It's an absurd priority to have. And let's not forget that pensioners are one of the richest generations in society, already extremely well protected by the triple lock. 1 in 5 of them lives in a millionaire household. This is the wrong priority for any government to be giving money to.
Enormous real estate growth as well in that time.
Yeah, and no university fees.
Absolutely.
In that time. It also just, I mean, if this does go ahead, and I hope it doesn't, and I imagine it won't, because it's the exact sort of thing that can just be reneged on again by every incoming government, whoever takes office, for different reasons. But it sets such an insane precedent for this idea that you can have a change. For instance, it could be the case that millennials who had student loans and they went up sort of 15 years ago, could they turn around in like 15, 20 years and say, actually...
They are turning around as we speak. There's a constant campaign.
And actually, I'm much more pro that campaign.
Wow.
So, no, but that's the thing, like, things just change. It's also worth bearing in mind, I suppose, when we're all factoring in for our retirement, we're not considering the state pension even existing, really.
No,
I don't know if
absolutely.
either of you in any way think about that as something that will exist in 40, 50 years' time.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think technically we're supposed to retire at 68, so already later than these WASPI women. But I don't think any of us believes that we're not just going to continue working as long as we possibly can. We all know that the triple lock and current pensioner spending, including on health and social care, is completely unsustainable. So I just don't think I think it's completely unfair for these women to be demanding that we, of people of working age, pay for them. I also find it very whenever these people, whenever they find spokeswomen for this campaign to go on the news, they never ever find one that's actually lost out. They always have a private pension, or
they were made to work an extra 3 years or something.
Yes, I mean tiny violins.
Yeah.
Well, I was also struck. I think there was one of the warnings from a spokesperson from that campaign group who said, "Well, we'll make this the end of Labour." And we'll vote them out. It's like, what do you think comes next?
Yeah.
Like, do you think like Tories and Reform are going to be more sympathetic to this?
Well, Reform might.
They might be in a campaign setting. I can imagine that Zia Youssef might come down quite hard in the end.
I think what troubles me really about this is I think it just shows you that Andy Burnham is spineless. He's a yes man. He will capitulate to any kind of noisy campaigner. And I don't think that if he is going to be the next Prime Minister, this shows any evidence that he's prepared to take the tough decisions that this country clearly needs.
Just finally, can I try and elicit some sympathy with you on this? I think, fair enough, I think the campaigners for this are a bit mad. But it is unfair that frontline politicians like Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham promise them that there's going to be compensation or they're going to get something, and then they get into office and they say, ha ha, charade you are, no, you're not. And they keep leading these people up the garden path, and say what you like about how sane their demands are. It isn't fair to keep saying on the campaign trail that, yeah, we're going to compensate you, and then turn around and say no.
Yeah, I think this is a consequence of parties in opposition being childish. And I think you'd say the same for the Tories when they talk about pensioners being betrayed over winter fuel, etc. I think the thing is you need to be a grown-up in opposition.
It's also the problem of party memberships voting for leaders, ultimately. I mean, this is the sort of thing like you pitch this kind of policy to a membership. This is not popular with the public. And I think this is what happens when a small selectorate are picking our frontline politicians.
And with that, we thank you, Alys Denby, and we hope you get the maximum pension payout when it is time, which is not many, many years from now. But thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And finally, the World Cup is now underway, but there is already some controversy brewing. We've got some new data on the number of fans who are being turned away at the border, the US border, of course. We have our deputy sports editor, Matt Hardy, here with the details. What's going on, Matt?
Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Hello, welcome back.
This is the
Great to
worst
have
month of your life, Martin. You hate the World Cup.
hate
Yes, we are going to
It's
cover
so
this several times a
boring.
week now.
And yesterday we did our sweepstake. I don't know who you guys got in the sweepstake.
I got Mexico, one of the host nations, obviously.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Österreich, Austria.
Austria, nice.
Very good.
Well, look, yes. Well, good news for us three. It looks like we'd be able to get in there if we were from those three nations.
Yeah, so I've only
Quite
got
well.
a 20% rejection rate.
Yeah,
which feels
basically some
pretty
data
good,
shared
actually.
with us from Allianz Trade is saying that 3/4 of visa applications from Senegal are being turned away, and it's about 60% for Iran. Those were the leading nations at this World Cup. It's a sign of the political status of this World Cup. We've had Iran have trouble in Canada. We've had the same in America. They're currently staying in Mexico. DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, they've had problems with visas stemming from the Ebola outbreak.
Yeah, that was only a few weeks ago that sort of
there's
flared out.
so many problems here, and obviously Brits going over there get their social media trawled through by immigration as well. So I imagine.
I'm just sort of breaking a few of these down. Iran, I'm quite surprised that really anyone from Iran is visiting the US. I'd have thought that a lot of tourism would be getting cancelled in light of escalating strikes.
And that more visas are being refused to Senegal than are being refused to an actual war enemy
Yeah,
of
that's
the US
extraordinary.
right now.
That's extraordinary. Also, because Senegal is poised to do pretty well in the tournament, and I'd have thought that there is more extensive Senegalese tourism into the US than there is from Iran anyway. So, let's not jump to any conclusions as to
but
why.
also, you look at South America and Colombia. We've had America have been picking on South America for a little while, and you know their levels are relatively low.
Yeah, so Colombia's on around 35%.
Huge number of Canadians on there as well.
50%. That really surprised me. I do wonder whether a lot of them probably just applied for the wrong visa. There might be some kind of economic
sort of
visa,
clerical
some
problem
kind
there.
of thing there.
You'd think that would be a pretty smooth kind of border crossing for America and Canada.
Because they're in line with sort of Uzbekistan, almost at the level of Jordan. And then sort of lowest on the list. So if you're very likely to get in if you're from Uruguay, Japan, or Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I should say this data from Allianz does not cover European nations, where I imagine the rates are a lot lower.
A lot lower. Although there have been stories of some Scotland fans having issues with Esters, which is very unlucky for sort of the first tournament they've qualified for a while. So hopefully they do find their way in.
Do we think this could actually lead to kind of to empty seats in the stadiums?
Well, look, the ticket prices are doing that. I don't know whether you guys have $500 spare to go and watch Cape Verde versus Saudi Arabia, but that's what's going on at the moment. I think
that's for some of the few that are under four figures.
I think I saw on the other day that was the Democratic Republic of the Congo versus Uzbekistan. It's hardly kind of the stuff that's going to excite locals unless you're from that region and you're living in America. You know, it's hard to get excited about that. They've stuck Iran on the west coast, so as far away from DC as possible. Wow. But the people of Iran, I don't think attracting the Silicon Valley into the 49ers stadium. So
just one more point on this. I mean, do you think this is a sign that actually this could be a moment where the US genuinely hurts its international reputation?
Yes, we had a referee from the African continent turned away. And Gianni Infantino, when asked about this, the president of FIFA just said, "Just chill, guys." His words were "just chill," and it's like this is a
very
a
casual
huge problem.
language. Yeah.
And other journalists went to Kirsty Coventry, who runs the Olympic Committee, and said, "Are you sure this is going to be sorted out in 2 years' time? There's an Olympics in LA. It's going to be in the last 2 months of Trump's term. Don't."
God, he gets a World Cup and an Olympics.
And you think of the Boris boost in 2012. Labour got the Olympic bid. Boris gained from being the mayor at the time. Trump's going to have an Olympic bid. Whoever's his successor, if he doesn't do a third term, is going to have Americans winning on American soil 3 months before an election. Kirsty Coventry did say, I should say, it should be fine. So that's okay. So that's okay.
Right, Matt, before we let you go, I think we should tell the audience we recently went to see the cricket, didn't we?
We did. Well, we didn't see much cricket.
No.
We saw some greenery.
We saw some cricket being played, and where did we see it?
We watched it in St John's Wood, where you'd expect to find the home of cricket, except we weren't inside Lord's. We were over the road. In a penthouse. It's up for sale.
In a £10 million penthouse. Well, it's up for sale. It's up for private auction. I'm told the family selling it aren't going to accept less than 10 million. It is the biggest terrace balcony overlooking Lords in, well, obviously the country. It's 100 foot. It was bought when it was unfinished as a development by a chap called Lawrence Silman, who I'm told made his money in construction and real estate. And they're giving all the money to charity.
Yeah, look, if I had to put a name on, throw into the mix, I'd say the Ambani family. They're huge cricket lovers. They've got houses in the area. They've just bought half of the Oval Invincibles, the Oval in South London, not Lords, but they are huge cricket fans. We were both there. That's a hosting property, and I can see them looking to snap that up.
It was a real 1950s, 60s, 70s time
Oh,
capsule.
it was ugly. There was a jacuzzi in the bathroom, and it all looked, orange carpets, blue toilets.
I want to get on the PR emails that you guys are on. This is wild.
Even if you loved the 1960s, you'd still gut it and start again.
Yeah, and it was bring your own booze. So we took a few bottles of wine up and had a great day.
Well, guys, me and the audience are simply too envious now, so I'm going to have to call an end to this and wrap this up. Matt, I'm sure we're going to have you back many times in the next 4 weeks to Martin's considerable misery as we talk about the World Cup in huge detail.
Well, hey, I'm so excited.
You can see the excitement.
All right, that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening to Business as Usual, brought to you by Okta.
Don't forget to subscribe to City AM's daily and weekly newsletters, and of course, don't forget to download our free app.
It even has puzzles now and plenty of sport coverage, if that's your thing. So we'll be back in your podcast feeds next week at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. But for now, goodbye.
Goodbye.